This is television for the Isles of Scilly, brought to you with Worldwide Financial Planning, Truro and Penwith College, and the Scilly Lottery. From Radio Scilly, this is scillytv.com. A new novel mixing historical fact about the wreck of the Colossus and a bit of fiction has been launched on St Mary's by Glynis Cooper.
The novel is split into two parts, 18th century and 21st century. The 18th century story is centred on the sinking of the Colossus, which is well known in Scilly anyway. The reasons why she was in the Isles of Scilly anyway in the winter months of 1978, and the significance of what was lost and what went down with her. The story is told through the eyes of two 21st century protagonists called Meg and Kevin. Meg is here because she's recovering from a very bitter divorce, and she's been receiving mysterious and somewhat threatening phone calls and letters saying that they are certain that her family knows something about the Colossus and about the treasures on it, and that some of the treasures that they expected to find on the seabed are missing, and they are convinced that she knows exactly what it is, and they mean to make her tell them by fair means or foul. She's quite a timid person and very frightened, but determined to get to the bottom of this. While she's out here, she meets a journalist who is writing up articles for the Sunday Colour supplements on the new finds from the Colossus to coincide with the exhibition that the British Museum is putting on. They meet and they get to know each other, and they discover that each is working on the Colossus, and from then on the amazing series of coincidences comes into it. They discover that Meg is the great-great-great-granddaughter of Admiral Lord Nelson and Emma Hamilton. Nelson and Emma Hamilton had two daughters, one of whom died at 6 weeks, the other of whom grew up to marry a vicar, and she had 10 children. My way of linking it in was to say that there had been an 11th child that she and her husband were too poor at that point in time to afford to keep, so they had him adopted, and he was adopted by a Scillonian who had the surname of Nelson. As a tribute to the Admiral, because he knew who the child was, he named him Horatio. When this child grows up, he sails the seven seas, as they say, and he comes back to Scilly and settles being a fisherman, a policeman, very popular local character of the time, according to the records in Scilly. And when Lord Nelson's daughter Horatia dies, she leaves him a legacy, and it's the legacy that is being fought over. The legacy she leaves him is a bag full of sapphires, emeralds, diamonds, rubies, and some gold jewellery. They have been bequeathed to her by Sir William Hamilton, who had always wanted children, who had never been able to have any through some deficiency in himself, and who had to watch his wife have an affair, a very public affair with Lord Nelson, have his baby, and to know that although the child might be regarded as officially his, he could have no say whatsoever in her upbringing or her future or anything else. So he decides to make her a little present, a little gift just for her use. He doesn't tell Emma Hamilton about it because he knows that Emma, although he adores her, is a gambler, a spendthrift. She likes lavish parties, she likes drinking champagne, and he feels that she will just sell Horatia's legacy if he tells her about it. So when Horatia reaches her 35th birthday and she discovers that she has this legacy, she doesn't know what to do with it, but she does know that she doesn't want either herself, her husband, or her children to become spoiled and ruined in the way that Emma was. So she determines that she is not going to tell them about this. She is going to save this legacy for the one child she couldn't keep through poverty, the one she had to give away. In turn, when Horatio Nelson on Scilly finds out what his mother has left him, he is not very interested in cashing in on the riches, as they say. He has everything here that he wants. He is quite happy. He knows enough of the story of his real grandparents to know that fortune didn't make them happy either. And so he decides that he is going to wrap it up, hide it in the rafters, pass it on to his own son with a letter saying, "You do what you want with this, but I don't want to know." The son feels the same as his father and passes it on to his son. We are now into the 20th century, and his son, who is named David Nelson, decides that he is going to do lots with this fortune. The world is at his feet, and he thinks, great, there is so much that can be done both for me and in the islands. Then comes World War II. He is conscripted into the RAF and shot down over Germany, imprisoned for the war. When the war is over, he joins British task force, which is marching to liberate the concentration camps of Auschwitz and Belsen. And he is so shocked by the sights that he sees there that it just completely alters his life. He looks at the atrocities. When he gets to Belsen, there are dead, half-dead children just sprawled everywhere, and he can't comprehend how this can happen. He knows that a lot of them are Jewish. He knows the Jewish were good business people. He knows that they must have tried to help their families either by trying to sort of buy their way out or bribe the guards to not mistreat them. He suddenly realises that it doesn't matter how much you have, that people are still capable of this. He loses all his own hopes, his all ambitions. He becomes totally introverted. He doesn't want to know about the legacy. He sells his father's cottage on Scilly because he doesn't want to be remembered of earlier happy times in his childhood, and he almost retreats into himself. His daughter Meg, through whom the story is told, never ever gets to know about this legacy. Her father resents her intrusion into the very close marriage that he has with her mother, and the divorce between Meg's parents is acrimonious. She has absolutely no idea of what goes on, and it is only when she comes to Scilly and she starts delving into the past, delving into people who knew her family, that she realises there are rumours of some sort of legacy. She doesn't know how she's going to find out about this, but it suddenly occurs to her, if there is anything, the family solicitors are likely to know. They do know, they write to her and they tell her what it is, and she's completely and utterly gobsmacked, which is a horrible word, but it's the only word for it. She confides in Kevin, the journalist who is writing up the article about the finds from the Colossus, because she doesn't know who is chasing her for this, who is threatening her, who wants her out of the way, who is trying to get their hands on the legacy. And they eventually discover that it is Meg's ex-husband, who is descended from the Hamilton family, and he is convinced, he is very sour about the fact that Sir William left Horatia that legacy because Horatia Nelson was not a member of their family. He thinks that although Sir William had no children of his own, he should have bequeathed that legacy to his brother, who did have children and from whom Meg's ex-husband is descended. When the whole thing is finally resolved, Meg is not at all sure that she wants a legacy like that, because she has seen the lengths to which people are prepared to go to get it. I'm not going to spoil the whole book, but it ends up with shootings and plenty of blood in the water, if you like. And in the end, she decides to bequeath the whole thing back to the British Museum, to Sir William Hamilton's collection, where she feels that it should rightly be. The museum can't believe their good luck at getting a bequest of this size, and so they make her a small ex gratia payment, and she buys back her old family's home, and of course in the end she and Kevin get married, so it's like a happy ever after ending. That's as brief a nutshell as I can put it into